What if I told you that families making $300,000 a year struggle to buy a home? That they're taking out student loans for their kids' college tuition? That they feel financially stressed despite earning more than 90% of Americans? It sounds impossible, right? But here's the shocking truth. Earning $150,000 puts you in the top 10% of individual earners in America. Yet today, these high earners are reporting record levels of financial anxiety and dissatisfaction. Why might this be? And more importantly, do you find yourself in this category? Are you a high-income earner who feels broke? Well, today we're going to deep dive into this topic. Why today more than ever, making more money doesn't seem to solve your money problems. First, let's start with some sobering statistics regarding high-income earners. Today, to be in the top 10% of individual earners in America, you need to make $150,000 annually. For households, that number jumps to $230,000. And these are not just good salaries. These are great incomes that put you ahead of 9 out of 10 Americans. Yet despite being in this elite group, these high earners are struggling, both financially and emotionally. Recent consumer sentiment data shows that only 26% of people in the top third of earners, that is households making about $130,000 or more, said they felt better off than they did a year ago. That's the lowest level since the depths of 2009 financial crisis. Over 25% of households earning between $200,000 and $300,000 a year report being either not very satisfied or not at all satisfied with their financial situation. Think about that. A quarter of people making $250,000 a year feel financially dissatisfied. How about debt? 17% of top 10% of households had student debt in 2022 compared to just 11% in 2001. These are families that should theoretically be able to afford college for their kids, yet they're going to debt for education. Home ownership among the 10% of earners has actually declined from 94% in 2001 to 90% in 2022. Even high earners are getting priced out of the American dream. So what is going on here? How can people earning more than 90% of Americans feel poor? The answer lies in what I like to call the three-part high income trap. Let's go through them one by one. The first trap that makes high income earners feel poor: the lifestyle inflation spiral. Here's how it typically plays out. Let's take a family earning $350,000 a year. On paper, you think they should be living like kings, right? But let's look at their actual expenses. After taxes in a high tax state like California or New York, they're taking home roughly $220,000. Still sounds like a lot, right? But then comes the lifestyle creep. They buy the appropriate house for their income level, maybe a $1.2 million home with a $7,000 monthly mortgage payment and a utility bill that runs close to $1,000 a month. They lease 2 reliable cars for $1,200 combined monthly payments because we need dependable transportation for work. Their kids go to private schools at $2,000 per month per child, and they spend $9,000 a year on their kids' sports programs. And it doesn't stop there. They eat out frequently because both parents work demanding jobs. There's $1,500 monthly on restaurants and takeout. You might look at these numbers and think, ridiculous, right? However, the truth is that these are not unusual behaviors. In upper middle class neighborhoods across America, toddlers take music classes that cost $100 per hour, teens play expensive club sports that can run thousands per year, and families hire $200 per hour tutors to ensure their kids stay competitive in an increasingly demanding academic landscape. Why? Because everyone else is doing it. Thus, at the end of the day, this is why many high-income earners do not feel like they're living luxuriously. They just feel like they're keeping up with what everyone else is doing, which is not a great feeling at all. Which brings us to a second trap that makes high-income earners feel poor. But before we get there, as you're watching this video, do you find yourself wanting to know where you personally stand with your personal finance? If you're on track or if you're behind? Well, if so, you're in luck, my friend. I have the perfect tool I think you'll find very useful. Introducing the Financial Health Awareness Quiz. By answering just a few quick questions in this quiz, you'll receive a free, customized financial plan. A plan that will give you a snapshot of where you stand with your money today, and specific steps you can take to make your financial future even stronger. It's hard to make good financial decisions until we have a good understanding of where we stand. So make sure to go to the link I'll have in the description below to take the quiz and receive your free financial plan. It will only take you a few minutes. Alright, with that, let's get back to the video. The second trap that makes high-income earners feel poor. A very important psychological concept, the hedonic treadmill. Now imagine you're running on a treadmill. No matter how fast you run, you stay in the same place. You never reach your destination. That's exactly what happens with our happiness and income. When we get a raise or hit a new income milestone, we experience a temporary boost in happiness. But then something interesting happens. We adapt. Research shows that money does correlate with happiness, but only up to about $75,000 to $95,000 annually. After that point, you hit what many economists call diminishing returns. More money provides progressively less additional happiness. Why? Because we have what psychologists call a happiness set point. And this adaptation process is automatic and unconscious. When that family earning $350,000 a year first hit that income level, they probably feel incredibly wealthy. But over time, their brains adapt to the new reality. Their $300,000 lifestyle becomes their new norm, their new baseline. As one high earner put it perfectly, I feel like we're just a normal, run-of-the-mill, middle-class family. This is from someone making more than 95% of Americans. But there's also a generation element to this psychological trap. Many people who find themselves with the same level of income as their parents realize that they're not able to provide the same level of lifestyle they grew up with that income. Things have gotten more expensive. So they're needing to earn more, sometimes a lot more, just to get to the same level of lifestyle they had growing up. Essentially, you have moved further up from an income perspective, but from a socio-economic perspective, you're still stuck at where you started. Now, is it possible that this feeling of being stuck, not moving forward despite making more money, is all just within our heads? That it is all just psychology? Well, I say some, but not all. There are real economic forces at play here, which leads us to the third trap. The third trap that makes high-income earners feel poor. The brutal economic reality that many high-income earners have to live with every day. I'll be blunt here. The truth is that in high-cost areas, even with a top 10% salary, it is really hard to buy a home. Consider San Francisco, for example, which houses many of these high-income earners. With median home prices over $1.3 million, if you want to buy a home with a 20% down payment, we're talking about close to $300,000 in liquid cash. That is a lot of money, even for someone making really good income. Well, what if you were to move out of San Francisco? Does that solve this affordability problem? Some places, maybe. But even in cheaper competitive cities like Austin or Denver, median home prices have climbed to $500,000 to $600,000. In places like Temecula, California, not exactly Manhattan, home prices are up 57% in just the past 5 years, far outpacing the national average of 45%. When you factor in property taxes, insurance, and maintenance, you're looking at housing costs that consume 40 to 50% of after-tax income for high earners. But it's not just the housing. High earners face what we call the tax and geography penalty. They're trapped in expensive geographic areas by their careers, but face inflated costs for everything from grocery to childcare. On top of that, they have some of the highest tax rates while qualifying for no assistance. I know it sounds a bit absurd to say this about high-income earners, that many are stuck. However, that is the reality. Because of these traps and forces, many, despite having impressive salaries, can't help but find themselves feeling inadequate. Alright, so the big question is this. Is there a solution to this dilemma? If you watch some of my other videos, you already know the answer. Of course, yes. What is the point of identifying facts and circumstances if we don't do something about them, right? Complaining without seeking a solution is just a complete waste of time. So if you find yourself as one of these high-income earners who feel stuck, let me share with you 5 proven strategies. Strategy 1 to fight the top 10% problem. Master the psychology of wealth. Essentially truly understand what actually creates lasting satisfaction and that feeling of abundance. Not what other people tell you or the marketing machine wants you to believe. Here are a couple tips. 1. When choosing where to spend your money, prioritize experiences. Decades of research reveal that experiences beat things every single time. When researchers track people's happiness after purchases, they consistently find that experiential purchase, travel, concerts, classes, adventures with friends, provide a higher emotional return than material purchases. Why is this? Because experiences become part of who you are, while things just become part of your background. Second, relationships are everything. The amount of time you spend with people you genuinely enjoy is one of the strongest predictors of life satisfaction. And this isn't just feel-good advice, it is hard science. Third, gratitude practices literally rewire your brain. When you regularly acknowledge what you're thankful for, you reduce something called hedonic adaptation, your tendency to take good things for granted. So if you find yourself constantly chasing the next tier of income, more money, recognize that people who feel the richest are not those who make the most. They're those who need the least to be satisfied. They've essentially figured out how to get off the fruitless pursuit of more. Strategy 2. Redefine your relationship with money. Now that you have a better understanding of what truly brings you lasting feelings of satisfaction, you can use that knowledge to redefine your personal relationship with money. Here are a few pointers. First, you need to recognize your enough point. Research consistently shows that the happiness benefit of money largely plateaus around $75,000 to $95,000 annually. This does not mean you shouldn't earn more, but it does mean you should be intentional about what you do with the additional income. Second, define wealth for yourself, not based on what the society says. What does feeling financially secure actually mean to you? Is it having 6 months of expenses saved? Being able to take a vacation without debt? Having the freedom to quit a job that you hate? Get crystal clear on your personal definition. Third, prioritize security over status. Understand that a well-funded emergency fund and genuine financial stability will make you feel wealthier than any luxury purchases ever could. Bottom line, be intentional about your relationship with money. Don't let someone else define that for you. Don't let your neighbors, your colleagues, or social media dictate what financial success should look like in your life. And definitely don't let the marketing machine tell you how you should spend your money. Take control of your financial narrative and align your spending with your personal values, not someone else's. Strategy 3 to fight the top 10% problem. Implement anti-lifestyle inflation systems. We're now getting tactical. As we talked about earlier, lifestyle creep is a fact. It happens to all of us whether we like to admit it or not. So we need a strategy, a system to counter it. Let me share with you some of my favorite anti-lifestyle inflation systems. 1. Apply the investment mindset filter. Before spending money, especially a sizable amount, ask yourself, does this purchase move me towards or away from financial freedom? Understand that the purpose of money is to help you have more freedom and choices in life, not less of it. 2. Create artificial scarcity. Deliberately cap your lifestyle at a specific income level, regardless of how much you actually earn. For example, decide to live on $80,000 per year, even if you're making $150,000. Everything above your ceiling automatically goes to savings and investments. This allows you to not only feel abundant within your chosen lifestyle, you get to build real wealth behind the scenes. 3. Set clear boundaries in advance. When you make good income, it's very easy to keep moving the goalpost. What is one more car? One more vacation? One more room? So you have to draw hard boundaries ahead of time. Decide what lifestyle upgrades you'll say no to, regardless of your income level. Maybe you'll never buy a car that costs more than $40,000. Maybe you'll never spend more than 25% of your income on housing. Having these boundaries will prevent emotional lifestyle inflation. Bottom line, define your boundaries and systems in advance so when it comes to making money-related decisions, you're not swayed by emotions, your friends, or that riveting marketing ad. Strategy 4. Practice intentional spending. Now that you have good systems to check your spending, from allowing your lifestyle to unintentionally spiral upwards, it is time to practice intentional spending. This is about making every dollar work towards your happiness and goals, not against them. Here are a few ways to do it effectively. 1. Use the satisfaction pause. Before any major purchases, ask yourself, will this still matter to me in 6 months? Will I even notice it in a year? If you can't give a definite answer immediately, the chances are that purchase will not have a lasting impact. Pass on until you can provide a definite answer. 2. Spend extravagantly on what you love and cut ruthlessly on everything else. This is Ramit Sethi's core philosophy. Identify the 2 or 3 things you absolutely love spending money on, then go all out on those while being ruthless about cutting everything else. Love great food? Spend freely on restaurants, but drive an old car. Love to travel? Book amazing trips, but live in a smaller apartment. The key is being honest about what truly brings you joy versus what you think should bring you joy. 3. Implement the 1 in, 1 out rule. For every new item you bring into your home, donate or sell 1 item you already own. This prevents accumulation of stuff you don't need and forces you to really consider whether that new purchase is worth displacing something you already have. Strategy 5 to fight the top 10% problem. My personal favorite. Build a long-term wealth perspective. Building wealth, regardless of your income, takes time. So embrace that fact. Don't try to shortcut your way to financial success by looking like you're wealthy before you truly are. First, think in decades, not in years. Real wealth building happens over 10, 20, 30-year periods. When you're tempted to upgrade your lifestyle, ask yourself, would I rather have this thing now or financial freedom in 10 years? The math is usually pretty clear. Second, focus on net worth, not income. A family making $200,000 with $20,000 in savings is less wealthy than a family making $100,000 with $200,000 in investments. Track your net worth monthly and celebrate those increases, not just your salary bumps. Third, build generosity into your wealth plan. True wealth means having enough to be generous with your time, money, and skills. When you're regularly giving to others, you feel abundant, regardless of your income level. Plus, it keeps you humble and grounded about what really matters. So remind yourself constantly that the goal is not to get rich quick. It is to build sustainable wealth that gives you genuine freedom and peace of mind. When you focus on the long game, you naturally resist the short-term lifestyle inflation that traps so many high earners. Thank you guys for watching the theme of high income earners. If you want to learn some of the worst financial mistakes made by high income earners, please check out my video here. Until next time, all the best.